I mean, it was good to have a week to where, we really didn't necessarily need the bye per se, but we certainly welcomed it. I think everyone does this time of year to get some boys back up and to get some bodies as healthy as possible. The guys went about their work the right way, and then we kick things into high gear, over the weekend. Obviously, today's Monday for everyone else, but today's our Thursday. So I thought the guys did a great job handling things the right way over the Halloween weekend because, again, when we're at Saturday and Sunday for everyone else on a college campus, doing all the things that college kids should do on Halloween weekend, our guys are on a different path. I thought they went about things in a mature manner, did things the right way. We had 2 very, very productive days over the weekend. Had practice this morning and preparing to welcome a really good, obviously undefeated in conference play NIU football team coming in here. It's going to be a physical 4-quarter game that we got to get our minds right for and get ready for that 4-quarter fight.
Well, let's open things up here for some questioning. Start with Alan Mall from the Record Courier. Alan, any questions for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, just, you're halfway through the MAC. You had a little bit of time to, look back at things. What are kind of your thoughts on things you did well, things you need to improve, and that type of thing?
I mean, I think the things that we do well when we're on, as generic as this is, when we're on and we're doing things right, we can do a lot of things really, really well. We bottled up a good Ohio rush attack. Last time out that we went out and played, we're doing a good job running the football. I've liked the way that we've breathed life into our throw game as the year has evolved, and our ability to turn the football over and get that thing back defensively has all been positives for us. The biggest thing that as you go back and you kind of do the mini in-season self-assessment the way everyone kind of does this time of year and you dive into the analytics, it's really just the consistency. When we're good, we're good. And when we're not, we're not. And that valley, the mark of deviation, if you will, between the highs and the lows, man, that really needs to come together. And we need to tighten that up as we get into November here to play championship football. If we want to call ourselves champions, just the consistency and how we go about our business day in and day out. And then obviously on game day to be able to, go out and consistently put 3 phases of the game together through 4 quarters, play after play after play, regardless of the goods and the bads, things that are going to happen, just to be consistent and be more level in our, high ability to play at a high level. Just do that consistently good, not occasionally great.
You mentioned having a chance to have some guys maybe rest and recoup and that type of thing. You see yourselves getting anybody back this week that's maybe been out for a little bit?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that Monin comes back up front. I think Big Adam is going to be kind of a week-to-week deal. And DJ is a little bit more doubtful with what he's got going on the offensive side. I think the rest has been really good for a guy like Nico Bolden, who was able to come back and play in that Ohio game. He obviously didn't play in the Western Michigan game, but the rest has been good for him, to get back up. And just, there's a lot of guys, again, because of this beautiful game that we play, dealing with some general body soreness that the time was really good to where guys are, like this morning, helmet practice, feel good Thursday, guys are bebopping around and probably have felt as good at it as they have ever since we reported to camp. And that's just the nature of the beast. So, those are kind of the big marquee names that kind of where they're at, but just generally, I just think we're physically, mentally, and emotionally, in a good spot right now with a lot of real meaningful football to play here in November.
Just talk about how, the race is shaking out so far. Obviously you and Miami have already got a kind of a pretty good gap in the East. Just kind of your thoughts on how things have shaken out and what you're kind of looking forward to here.
Looking forward to doing the next thing the right way. I mean, Alan, you know me, I got blinders on. I can't control what's going on outside our building. And there's plenty for me to obsess about inside our building, right? So, I'm looking forward to this battle that we're going to have on Wednesday night. Have tremendous respect for Coach Hammock and what he's built and what he's done. And him and I's relationship goes ways back. He was one of the first people that greeted me when I was at Wisconsin because he was a graduate assistant. So we have that background together, that history. And, he's built this team to play with great effort, play with great attitude. Man, they fight like crazy every single game that they've been in. They found a way pretty much to come back and win. I mean, Wyoming's the only one where they didn't find that way to come back and win, but early in that game, they're down a few possessions and they battle back. So I'm hyper-focused, blinders on about doing what we need to do to stay undefeated at home here at Dick's Stadium and hopefully finding a way to get a bunch of people out on a Wednesday night for some great action against 2 really good football teams. Whatever else happens outside of that, I'll come up for air after Wednesday and figure it out.
Okay, and then looking to this matchup, then I haven't done a ton of, I haven't fine-tooth combed this, but there's a good chance that this is the first game since '73 in November that have had, two teams leading the league, or in this case, divisions. Talk about the magnitude of, like you've said several times, doing the things that you need to do to get yourselves in games like this. And now it's here and it's at your place.
Yeah, to me, obviously, since day one, this is what we talked about, right? We want to graduate our kids. We want to retain the wheel. We want to win the East. We want to win the league. And we want to play in big, meaningful postseason games. And so this is the step in that progression. And so the individuals who have gone about things day in and day out the right way and treat practice like a game, and they understand with urgency and importance how finite these moments are, as you alluded to, right? Like, especially here within our program, we talked to the team. I mean, shoot, it's been almost 50 years since a team has gotten a chance to play, 4 championship meaningful games in this way, as you just alluded to in 73, right? To where it's rare. Championship moments are very, very rare. I was talking with Coach O'Boyle, who's been coaching college football for 35 years, right? Like, I've been alive for 35 years. He's been coaching ball as long as I've been alive. And in those 35 years, he's had the opportunity to play for 6 conference championships. Like, you got to take a second, you got to detach, and you got to realize how sacred these moments are. And when you get the opportunity to push your chips in like this, to do everything that you need to do at the level that it needs to be done. And again, I mean, we got a great group of kids that are really, really talented, that when they're locked in, they're focused, their minds are right, and they're emotionally sound, and they go execute with violence together, man, great things happen. And that's what we need to do. That's what we're capable of doing. Yeah, it's a big stage. It's a big moment for the university, but for our kids, like I said before, no matter how bright the stage gets, they're going to shine brightest. As long as they've gone about their training the right way, they're going to be trained for this moment. There is no, hey, I need our fans to rise to the occasion. I need our fans to come out because this is new for them, and they need to come out and get crazy and be loud on a Wednesday night, and they need to rise to the occasion. But as far as our ball club, we've been training them for this moment. And I'm a true believer that, a team that's exceptionally led and exceptionally trained will perform exceptionally regardless of circumstance. And that's what we need to do on Wednesday night.
Just looking at these guys specifically, like you mentioned, they won a lot of close games.
Yeah.
Not much was expected to them coming into this year based on, recent results. Just talk about what they've been able to do so much better this year to get the results they want.
I tell you what, I think they're playing with a great edge and a chip on their shoulder. I think back to kind of maybe year 2 with us and some of those early years where you're picked at the bottom of the league and you feel disrespected and you got a good ball club. And so you go out and you fight and you play with that edge and an attitude and an effort, to kind of prove people wrong. And you see that. They call it aggressively. They play aggressively in all 3 phases. They're a physical team, that has the ability to win at the line of scrimmage. You flip on that Georgia Tech game now, week 1, and they're going toe to toe with a Power 5 team, and more than holding their own at the point of attack in the trenches. They love to run the ball. Again, like, teams kind of take on the personalities of their head coaches, right? And Coach Hammock, being a former running back and being a former Badger, like, again, they want to run the football. They want to pound the rock, and they do it with a lot of different people so they stay fresh. And then the dangerous thing is that they got some dynamic wide receivers. Number 3, the Richie kid, as a wide receiver, as a returner, he's dynamic with the ball in his hand. So, again, it's that delicate balance to where they force you to where you got to sell out hats to stop the run, but they have the playmakers to get over the top of your head, if you commit too much. So we got to hold up on the edge. And then conversely, defensively, they sell out. They have tremendous trust and confidence in their DBs. They play a ton of man coverage, probably more man coverage than we've seen all year. And they look to outnumber you in pass pro in the run game by 1 every single time, right? So if you got 6 to stay in the block, they're bringing 7 and vice versa. Like, whatever your number is, they're giving you 1 more that you got to get that ball out with time and location. And the quarterback's going to feel someone around his person day in and day out, So it's fun. It's a great matchup. It's the one that you really got to lean into. I'm glad that we had a little extra time to prepare it because they do some fun, funky things that we got to be right for. And the beauty of it is, I know there's some ghosts that are going to show up here because they've had 10 days to prepare as well that we got to adjust accordingly for, come Wednesday night.
Run defense again. You mentioned pretty solid last game. It just seems like you guys run into these excellent running teams all the time. Here they are. I believe they're leading the league. So again, a little more about that matchup. And again, you guys seem to have bounced back nice in that area and how important that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's how the league's built, right? Like, we're turning the calendar here. It's November 1st. Everyone knows, if you're going to win these meaningful games late, especially with these MACtion evenings, like you got to play great rush defense. You got to be able to run the ball. That stuff's got to be able to travel because you never know what November action weather is going to bring. And these guys do it, the best in the league. I think, numbers that I got say that they're averaging over 230 yards rushing, which I think is tops in the league. I'm not real sure at that, but I know they're damn good. And we got to do a great job with violent fundamentals at the point of attack. We got to create knockback. And again, our guys got to welcome that challenge. We know that it's going to be tested. We know what we've put on tape. And again, who are we? What defense is going to show up? I'm very confident and know who's going to come out that tunnel, but we got to prove it. Snap in and snap out and take confidence from the wins. It's not going to be perfect. I know it's not going to be perfect. Have the ability to learn from those moments where it's not right, but limit the explosive plays so we can line up and be right and get knocked back and stay ahead of schedule and do the things that we need to do to play great rush defense that we've shown that we're capable of doing.
Do you know the status of their leading rusher? He hasn't played in the last several games.
I have no idea. We'll find out Wednesday night.
Alan, any last questions here for Coach? All right, let's move along to James Oswald from the Kent Stater.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, a great rushing team, as we just talked about. They've also only allowed like 5 sacks this year. Can you guys talk about their offensive line and just some guys up there and what makes them so good?
Yeah, I mean they're big and they're physical, right? I mean you kind of look at them across the board. Every single guy's over 300 pounds. I mean you're talking 6'6", 306, 6'5", 310, 6'5", 309, 6'3", 310, 6'6", 310, right? So I learned at a young age when I was in middle school, right, when the upperclassmen were beating up on me and big people beat up on little people. All right. So, they do a great job working up front. And again, because of their rushing attack, I think one of the hardest things that you got to be able to do, right, as a defensive lineman is recognize run pass. And they do a really good job in their play action pass game, right? So being able to be stout and stop the run, but then having to transition to get to the quarterback and recognizing that it's pass, they're very deceptive in that way. And they do a really good job with it. So with that, they're able to get the ball out on time, and their run game protects their throw game. So again, we gotta win those battles up front. We gotta do a great job winning first and second down, so we can kind of dictate some things that happen on our terms, on our schedule, because they are good. They're firm and they're solid up front, and they do a great job, playing together as one cohesive unit. And you don't see them bust many things.
Their quarterback wasn't, killing it early in the year, but I mean, he's coming off a great performance. I think he won Offensive Player of the Week. Kind of talk about what you, what he does so well and kind of what you looked to see from your secondary and defending him.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's seasoned, right? I mean, he played quite a bit of ball up at Michigan State and then transferred to Northern Illinois. So he's got game experience. He's got game reps, particularly at that position, which means a ton, So early on, again, they were pounding the rock and they really didn't have to lean on him a ton. They got behind in that Central Michigan game. And obviously he showed the ability that he has to throw the ball around. They showed the dynamic skill that they have to chase those guys down and to ultimately win that game. So, he's very dangerous. He reminds me a lot of the kid from Buffalo, the Kyle Van Treese kid, to where, again, like kind of flies underneath the radar because of the rushing attack and everything, right? But is more than capable. And again, if you commit too many hats to the box, they got weapons on the edge, and he's got the ability to burn you and make you pay.
When you're playing such a high-scoring offense like Northern Illinois, I mean, you guys have played a lot of good offenses this year. What do you take from those games and look into turning into wins in this game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to limit the number of times that they score, right? I mean, like not to make it more simpler than it is, right? But it's a great challenge when you play these balanced attacks, right? That you gotta win the field position game. Everything's tied together to where you're able to stay on schedule, and you take the lessons that you learned from before, and again, where you're able to take those weaknesses and hopefully attack them as the way that we have all throughout the course of the year to turn them into strengths, so that as the next opponent comes in and they see a perceived weakness on tape, that's actually something that you've improved. And by being better in those areas where they're trying to attack, now they're trying to play into a strength, and you limit the number of times that they get into the end zone, and ultimately just find a way to score one more point than them. Like in these championship rounds and these championship games, like, again, I'm not very smart, but I know if we can find a way to score one more point than them, we win, and that's good.
James, any more questions here for Coach?
Nope, I'm all good.
Let's flip it over to Jack Burney here from TV2.
Hey, Coach, I talked to Isaac Vance last week, and he talked about how he's kind of taken a leadership role and acted as a mentor to some of the younger receivers like Luke Floria. Could you just talk about what kind of leader Isaac is on the team and how the guys in the locker room respond to him?
Yeah, I mean, he's a vocal kid, which is great. I think a lot of times right now in today's day and age, right, like everyone just wants to lead by example, which is great. That's where it starts. You got to make sure that your house is in order first before you can start speaking up. But Isaac does things the right way. Again, he's been here since day one. He's seen all the transformations that have occurred, right? So he's got some perspective. He's made big plays in meaningful moments. So he's got street cred or locker room cred. So when he speaks, people want to listen, right? So he's done it. He's been in the foxhole and he's gone through some real adversity, so he walks the walk, which gives him the ability to talk the talk. And guys listen when he speaks up, so it's great to have him around. It's great to have his perspective. It's great to have his wisdom. And if you're a young buck in our locker room, you'd be wise to listen to the experiences that he's had and learn from it, right? Like we say all the time that wise men learn from other people's mistakes, right? Like a smart guy makes mistakes and he learns from his own. But, if you can sit down and speak with an intelligent individual or, have the wherewithal to watch other tape and see other things and go, man, that's really good. We got to do more of that. Or, that's bad ball. Let's not do that. Right. Like you learn from those other things so that you don't have to stub your toe in that way. And again, Vance is one of those guys who's got a lot of perspective, a lot of history on the program here. So it would behoove young players in our locker room to listen when he speaks.
You guys have obviously done a little bit of preparation already coming on the mini bye. Just talk a little bit about who stood out in practice for you this week.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was kind of fun last week, we kind of put some of the vets on ice, the guys who have, played a lot of football. So, some guys that kind of flashed when we were working with the younger guys. Devontae Walker as an outside receiver did some good things. He kind of splashed, which was good. It was good to get a guy like Marcellus Marshall up front, who's kind of that 8th, 9th offensive lineman that, again, with the way that we've been working through offensive linemen, by the end of this call, he might be the 4th or 5th offensive lineman, right? And then again, on the defensive side of the ball, a young guy like Alex Branch did some really good things. He flashed. I tell you what, like he's a guy that I absolutely love to coach. I know our coaches do as well, because there's times where he doesn't know, come from Sikkim, but he's running around as hard as he can and making full speed mistakes. And that's awesome, right? Like, hey, like he's chasing like a dog to a meat truck, but he don't quite know what to do if he catches the thing, right? So help him get him locked in, is really, really good. And then, a guy like Marv and Caleb Johns, again, like those backers, they're still relatively young in the program. So getting that extra time, and putting guys like AJ on the pond a little bit, just because he's played a lot of ball, and getting him fresh. But it's just opportunities for guys to grow and to get trained. It was great to see those guys last Tuesday, Thursday really attack that.
We mentioned it a little bit earlier, Northern Illinois, I think every MAC game they've been in has been a one-possession game. Knowing that the game's going to come down to the very end, just what do you guys need to do down the stretch of the game to ensure you'll give yourselves the best chance to win?
I think that comes down to our competitive maturity, right? And that's kind of the one thing about these two ball clubs right now. I think that, we got to feel good about, that the experience that we have with the guys that we've been around in this foxhole for a very long time, whether it's a Vance, a Crum, a KJ Sherrill, a Nate Monin, the day one guys that have been here, we got to lean into that competitive maturity to know that this is going to be a 4-quarter fight, that it's going to require, having emotional maturity to not get too high, not get too low, that, yeah, hey, great things are going to happen. Celebrate with your teammates, because, man, we put so much work into creating these great opportunities and these great moments. Celebrate, have fun. I mean, there's so much work that we talk about all the time. We can't lose sight of the fact that when great things happen, celebrate those moments, right? But then have the ability to refocus. And again, like with the experiences that we've had, we've seen a lot of things. We've experienced a lot of things where, their ball club, they got 75 guys that are redshirt sophomores or younger, and again, they've done a tremendous job winning a lot of close ball games. But the fact of the matter is, right, like they hopefully don't have the competitive maturity that we do, just because of the game experience and the game reps that we've been in. And so we got to lean into that competitive maturity and the mindset and the training that we've done, that, we're going to be real alphas on Wednesday night. and we're going to show up, we're going to perform, we're going to compete to win. And no matter how long it takes, we're going to go harder, longer, and we're going to get the job done.
And this is the last one for me. You mentioned earlier their corners like to do a lot of one-on-one coverage. That's kind of just the scheme they like to take on defensively. Will that open up your passing game and open up your ability to take deep shots early in the game?
I think it all depends on our ability to win those one-on-ones, right? Like it's old school cat coverage, man. That cat's got that cat. This cat's got that cat, right? And that goes back to like old backyard football. Like, can you win that one-on-one matchup? And, you know, a lot of that too is how we're holding up in pass pro, right? But I mean, there's some opportunities out there, but man, people have tried and they've risen to the challenge. I mean, they got good length, they got good speed, they're well coached. We'll see. It'll be a fun matchup to watch.
And let's wrap things up with Mr. Rob Polinsky.
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering, what do you specifically like about the matchup with your offense against their defense?
I like the numbers game, right? I mean, like it's you know where people are going to be. I feel good about the way, again, that we've thrown the ball as of late. I feel good about the way that, regardless of who's playing up front, we've consistently found a way to run the ball. You know, so I like what we do. I like our style of play. I like our tempo. That they haven't experienced a ton of tempo with the people that they've played, at least to the magnitude that we do. I know they're going to have a plan for that. And again, we got to go test those theories when we get into it. Just because I feel good about it right now, shoot, it could be something completely different on Wednesday night.
And Coach, you kind of mentioned that, you know, the championship games in November, it starts now, you know, nothing is given, but can you just talk about what you guys have done to this point to give yourself this opportunity? And do you think the kids have kind of embraced that and understand that?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a ton, Rob. I mean, it goes back to January, where again, you kind of detach, and each year the beauty of what it is and what we get to do in the special moments that you get to have with these kids, right? Like, you get a really good feel for your roster and you have a good idea of the people that you're bringing in, and you kind of look at your talent pool and realize that there's an opportunity there. You know, so to go do something that you've never done, you got to lean into training and things that you've never done. And we spent a lot of time, again, talking about that mental maturity, the emotional maturity, and growing and developing our competitive maturity, you know, so that's going back to, you know, the fight. And again, that analogy that has bled through all year about, you know, the fighting, the human fight, the natural instincts that we all do, that if you're not focused, if you're not urgent, if you don't have a sense of purpose to what you're doing, you're just going to drift back towards complacency. And that's just going to leave you like kind of smack dab in the middle of that mountain of average, right? Where 80% of college football resides, where quite honestly, you know, if you're a 7-6 ball club, that's average, right? Like, it's great in the history of Kent State football, and I'm not going to take anything away from that. But at the end of the day, like, relative to being elite and winning championships, like, we got to do things in an elite manner. So we've been talking about that all the way since January. And now that we're here and we're in the moment, again, like, you know, whether it's Michael Jordan, Peyton Manning, shoot, Tom Brady, right? Like, regardless of results, those guys who do things at a really high level, they have a championship level process. And so when good outcomes happen, when bad outcomes happen, it doesn't matter. You got to go get better. So bad things happen against Western Michigan. Okay, it doesn't matter. We got to go get better. What did we do poor? Let's go correct it and let's go get better. All right, so we responded and we beat Ohio, and that's awesome. We hadn't done that. That's great. You take 24 hours, celebrate the heck out of that in the right way. And now it doesn't matter. We got to go get better. Like, we're sitting first in the East at the start of November. Like, guys, that doesn't matter. We got to get better, because these games in November are the ones that we're going to remember. If we don't handle this thing the right way, like, it doesn't matter. So, you know, we've been talking about it forever. And when it's all said and done, again, you know, when the job is done, I'll have a victory cigar somewhere and I'll say the job's done. I'll feel satisfied. Until the job is done, let's get better. Because what we've done, it doesn't matter. We got to get better.
Well, let's all hope we can do a Red Auerbach imitation with the victory cigars. Good luck. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
Coach, appreciate, and everybody appreciate a few moments of your time. We'll wrap this up, Coach, and we'll get ready for some Wednesday night primetime action.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Flash Fast Nation, come out Wednesday. Need ya. Need your support. Let's do this thing. Go Flashes.